From the world headquarters at the Star in Frisco of the Dallas Cowboys, we welcome you to Special Edition Week 5 edition here from Frisco, Texas, with Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, and Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans as we break down the Cowboys' win over the Washington Commanders 25-10 in Week 4, and we take a look ahead to the Los Angeles Rams in Week 5. But gentlemen, who would have thought after that Week 1 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that the Cowboys would be sitting here on a 3-game win streak entering this Week 5 matchup at SoFi Stadium against the reigning defending champs? And you got to give a lot of credit around the building, but how much credit does Mike McCarthy deserve for turning this thing around from what looked pretty poor in Week 1?
He deserves a lot of credit. And number one, the situation looked very meek, right? It looked very meek. And Mike McCarthy, along with his coaching staff, will put these guys in a position to be successful. You think about offensively, Cooper Rush and what he's done in terms of just quarterbacking this team. Defensively, Dan Quinn has these guys playing like some complete monsters. It is October. They're playing like some straight monsters right now. And then obviously, Bones Fossil has the special teams playing well as also, and giving some good returns and some great cover teams. Holistically, this is a great job. They're in a position to keep ascending, sitting at the top of the NFC East.
Without a doubt, I think McCarthy deserves the majority of the credit, because if we're going to go out there and give him the majority of the blame when things go wrong, you got to give him the majority of the credit when things go right. And the way he has his team bought in under this new culture, I believe Mike McCarthy is getting the most out of this Cowboys football team.
The head coach's job is to coach the coordinators, and he's done a great job. He stepped up to Kellen Moore and asked him, to go over his run versus pass, and they done that. And they took care of that. So a great job for Coach McCarthy.
Yeah, and both the coordinators have been elevating their game as well. Dan Quinn, we just talked about it on the defensive side of the football, has been fantastic. Kellen Moore has allowed for Cooper Rush to be successful, and you can see that game in and game out. Now 4-0 as a starter in the NFL, first Cowboys quarterback to win his first 4 starts. He's also the first one in NFL history to do that with a 90-plus passer rating in all 4 games. So I ask you, Isaiah, can they continue to lean on Cooper Rush as the quarterback as Dak Prescott returns from his health?
I don't think that they're leaning on him as heavily as people believe that they are. I think that they need to continue to do a better job in the running game and continue to take some of that stress off of him, because as he continues along this season, teams are going to continue to dive in, watch film, see his tendencies, see where he's going to be stressing at. Last week we saw a little glimpse of it. When he gets a little internal pressure, he starts sitting back and throwing the ball up a little bit. So I think, he has to be wary about that going forward.
He has to be wary. Exactly. You're right, 100%, Isaiah. But to me, I think he had a solid game last week, but he made a lot of questionable decisions, like you mentioned. I mean, he threw 2 interceptions into double coverage. Now, we know those were penalties and they were called back, but if those penalties didn't happen, we're having a totally different conversation out there, and it gets me wondering, if that Rams defense is able to slow down this rushing attack for the Dallas Cowboys, can Cooper Rush be as productive and get the job done with his arm? I think the jury's still out on that one.
I think the problem was the addition of Gallup. They tried to get a few more passes in there. They tried to lean on the passing game, but you have to keep this thing balanced, 55-45, and that's 45 with the run. So you have to keep it balanced for him. He's not no great quarterback. He is a backup. That is a starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And as long as they stay close to balance, I think he should be okay.
And as the Cowboys' passing game ramping up, their passing defense has been shutting other teams down along the way. Got to give a lot of credit to Dan Quinn for the scheming of really keeping all 4 quarterbacks to this point underneath 200 net passing yards. But Nate, when you look at this defense, how have they been so successful, specifically Trayvon Diggs down the field?
Oh man, Trayvon has been doing his job. And what I like about this kid, he's getting closer coverage than he normally have in the past years. He's not gambling as much, and he's understanding that he's a vital part of this right here. Oh yes, keep your tackling up.
Yeah, Trayvon Diggs is playing some of the best football of his young career so far. Not only is he taking the football away, but he's locking down some of the premier wide receivers in this game. If you look at his matchup in Week 2 versus Jamar Chase, when in coverage, he only allowed 2 receptions for 14 yards. You fast forward to that matchup against Washington and scary Terry McLaurin, while in coverage, he only gave up 1 catch for 6 yards. So to me, this guy's playing elite ball and should be considered as one of the top 3 corners in the National Football League.
On deep downfield passes this season of over 20 yards of length, he's allowing a 0 passer rating, and he has 2 pass breakups and an interception. He's been fantastic at the second level. When we come back here on Special Edition, Stephen Jones and company join the show. We go one-on-one with the Cowboys COO right after this.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. Reliant, an NRG company. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by Salvation Army. Love Beyond.
The Cowboys have won 3 straight, but now they take their talents out to the West Coast to try and take on the reigning Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. It'll be quite the matchup, but the Cowboys continuing to show they've got some depth thanks to what the front office has invested into this roster over the last few seasons. One of those members responsible for that, Stephen Jones, sits down with Nick Eatman.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Eatman here with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And Stephen, right before we got on, you were doing a little singing a little bit. I don't know if you want to do it here on the air, but that's what happens when you win 3 straight games. Things are a lot better when you're going into L.A. this time around, huh?
Well, no question. It's certainly been nice to see our team come together in Dak's absence. And, I think what happened there is everybody stepped up and knew they needed to do a little more, especially after the disappointing first week we had against Tampa. And, certainly starting with the defense, the play style over there, they're playing fast, they're playing, the way Dan wants them to play, and certainly creating tough situations for the opposing team, especially, if we can get them in those second longs and third and longs, then, it certainly plays into our hands. But offensively, you can't say enough about Cooper Rush, the way he's running that offense. But as we go into the Rams, it's going to be we're talking about Super Bowl champions, and there's great football players over there, starting with one of our own homegrown guys leading that team, and Matthew Stafford, who we're so happy for, in terms of what he's been able to accomplish there in L.A. But certainly, his go-to guy, Kupp, I think he catches about 10 balls for 200 about every week. So we'll have our work cut out for us there, and then, of course, probably the best player in football in Aaron Donald, and he'll have our hands full as well. So they got a really good football team, but we look forward to going to L.A. and lining up against them.
When you guys came out of the Tampa game, obviously a lot of injuries there, including with Dak and a tough loss, and it seemed like a very hungry team that faced the Bengals. Do you feel like the Rams are that way here? They're 2-2. They're not supposed to be at this point. They didn't have their best game on Monday night. You think that this is going to be a hungry matchup for them?
No question. All these guys these teams that are coming off losses, pick it up a notch, and especially the good football teams. I'll say this though: our team's hungry too, and they know that we've got to play really good high-end football to win a game, to win games out here. But no, there's no question the Rams. Sitting at 2-2, are going to be playing some of their better ball. I know they've had some injury issues as well. It's part of our game, but we just look forward to lining up against them.
Thank you, Stephen. Kyle, back to you.
Stephen Jones and Nick Eatman, brought to you by AT&T, and you can catch the entire interview on DallasCowboys.com. But when we come back here on Special Edition, Dallas native Matthew Stafford facing the Cowboys again. Can he and the Rams find some rhythm on offense, or can Dallas continue the Stafford struggles at SoFi?
This segment was brought to you by Salvation Army. Love Beyond. This segment is brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.
And I wanted to ask you about Cooper Kupp and just how dynamic he is now.
Well, I'll just say this, and you see it time and time again, but you don't just go back to the Super Bowl. I mean, the last 10 plays of that game, I mean, he's targeted it 8 times. I think the other 2 were throwaways. So, I mean, he caught 7 of them. So that's the connection that him and Matthew have, and we're well aware of it. I mean, he's a fine football player.
Mike McCarthy, presented by Texas Lotto, as we welcome you back to Special Edition. Isaiah, Barry, Nate, I'm Kyle, and we continue to take a look at this Cowboys versus Rams matchup that is going to be tough for the Dallas defense. Even though the Rams haven't necessarily found a big-time rhythm on offense, they've got some big-time threats on the outside, and we're going to talk plenty about that. But let's start with Matthew Stafford, the one that's been distributing the football throughout the season. It hasn't been a great start. 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But, Isaiah, what does he bring to the table that's different than some of the quarterbacks we've seen so far?
He's been to the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously.
He's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you know, he's been to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl, all the things above, and he's playing at home. The thing is, he has Sean McVay. And as long as he has Sean McVay calling plays and he's going to continue to gain confidence, this guy's dangerous. We know what he's capable of. He's hot, he's cold, he's kind of Carson Wentz'y, however, the fact that he actually has a ring. And the thing is, people are not giving him credit for, he has a brand new offensive line for the most part. He's not settled in there. He has a brand new wide receiver that they expect to just be lights out. He's going to continue to figure things out. You just hope it doesn't happen this week.
Yeah, Matt Stafford, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League, like you said, and he has an amazing connection with Cooper Kupp, so that makes him a dangerous threat out there. But to me, I think he'll struggle a little bit when it comes to this Dallas defense because that offensive line that the Rams have, they've given up 16 sacks so far this year, and that's tied for second in the National Football League. So if I'm a part of this Dallas Cowboys front seven, Micah Parsons, Tank Lawrence and those boys, I'm licking my chops and I'm getting ready to get after Stafford come Sunday.
One thing about this Stafford kid, he's got a strong arm. He's a great player. But he has one drawback, and he loves to throw interceptions. He hates for the ball to hit the ground, so somebody's got to catch it. And he's 17 interceptions last year, 3 in the postseason, and he's on target to have much more this year. Hey, keep the pressure on him.
He was tied for the most interceptions last year with Trevor Lawrence. He has the most interceptions with 6 this year. And he's got some receivers to throw the football to. Isaiah mentioned it, a new receiver in Allen Robinson, but also Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee, the tight end, who last week had a combined 33 targets between the two of them. They're going to throw the football that direction, Nate. It's just how did the Dallas team take that big-time work that they're going to end up getting from those wide receivers, and how do they slow them down?
You double when you can. But it's hard. I mean, this guy got 42 receptions, 400-plus yards, 100 yards a game. The yak yards, he got 178. This dude is a beast. And like you said, the head coach, who is the offensive coordinator, they're going to find a way to get this guy open.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you got to focus on Cooper Kupp because he has 3 times the amount of targets that Allen Robinson has. Cooper Kupp has 54 targets. Allen Robinson only has 18. And I know Higbee got 38 targets as well, but he does a lot of his damage on the underneath stuff, the check down. So to me, if you want to limit this Rams offense, you got to focus and shut down Cooper Kupp, but that's a lot easier said than done.
It's a lot easier said than done, and I don't think that anybody in the NFL has figured out a way to do that. You can't shut down Cooper Kupp, okay? I'm sorry to tell everybody that in Cowboys Nation. You just can't. They line this guy up everywhere, backfield, outside, inside, in the slot, in the wing set. Anywhere that they can put him, except for quarterback, the man's been in there. He's going to get the ball thrown his way, 19 targets last week. I do believe that some of that workload will be taken off of him, though, as they try to continue to get Allen Robinson figured out.
He has the most receptions, the most receiving yards, the most receiving touchdowns, and the most yards per reception for any wide receiver in the NFL since the start of the 2021 season. Cooper Kupp does. He is always tough to slow down. Speaking of slowing somebody down, how about the offensive line for the Cowboys and their matchup this week with that man right there, Aaron Donald? He's one of the best NFL defensive linemen to ever play the game of football. Barry, this defense still has some pieces on it. How does Dallas have success offensively?
Well, look, like you said, this defense is loaded with dogs on all 3 levels. When you talk about Aaron Donald, Bobby Wagner, and Jalen Ramsey out there. But I think this could be a big day for the Dallas Cowboys receivers out there. We all know what Jalen Ramsey brings to the table. He's one of the top 3 corners in the National Football League. But in that secondary, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. The starting cornerback opposite of Jalen Ramsey, Troy Hill, he's on IR. They've also been dealing with some subpar play in the secondary. They're ranked 23rd against the pass out there. So to me, this could be a big afternoon for the wide receivers, and Cooper Rush taking advantage of it.
It can be if they give him time, because Aaron Donald is going to be all over the place, much like Cooper Kupp is all over the field. Aaron Donald is on the defensive end, the defensive tackle, the 3 technique, the 1. He's all over the place. He's a headache in the middle. Cheer him up somehow, some way.
You also talk about Jalen Ramsey on the edge. I mean, Ramsey is one of those lockdown corners throughout the season. He's had a really good year. He's been kind of vaulted to be one of the best in the NFL as well. He's going to have a matchup with CeeDee Lamb this week that I think everybody is going to keep their eye on. Speaking of matchups, he's one that we're going to look at. Can CeeDee have some success when we come back on Special Edition? We'll talk about him versus Ramsey and a couple other matchups you might want to keep your eye on.
This segment was brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.
I mean, it's obviously a great challenge ahead of us. I head in every week, with the respect for the other team, because, everybody in the NFL is a great player. Like, everybody in the NFL is not Aaron Donald, mind you, but it's like, they're all great players. And so, it's going to be a big game for sure. But, the standard remains the same. We got to be elite. We got to establish the tone at the line of scrimmage for sure.
That's a veteran mindset from a rookie offensive tackle, Tyler Smith, presented by Reliant, as we welcome you back into Special Edition from the Star in Frisco. And gentlemen, we've got some matchups. Tyler Smith knows he's got a matchup with that Rams defensive line coming up here in Week 5. But Nate, I'll start with you. What matchup are you looking forward to, and how can the Cowboys take advantage?
For the second week in a row, I'm looking at the interior. You look at Aaron Donald and Greg Gaines, the number 91 and number 99 all man. These guys are going to bring it. They're strong, they're fast, they're powerful. They built to stop the run, but they're great pass rushers. And we'll have our hands full with that interior defensive line.
They got to keep that pressure in front of Cooper Rush to have some success. And Isaiah knows a little bit about Gaines. He's a UW guy, just like Washington over here. All right, Barry, what matchup are you looking at?
I got one of my matchups is going to have to be Donovan Wilson versus the entire Los Angeles Rams offense. I'm telling you, this guy has been playing phenomenal these past few weeks. He's been playing like his hair is on fire, whether it's in the deep half of the field, at linebacker, at nickel. He's stopping the run, and he's become a tone setter for this defense overall. I love the way he's flying around the ball. I love how Dan Quinn's using him. So I'm going to be interested to see how he becomes an X factor versus this LA Rams offense.
I like that a little bit. Not just one guy, not just 1v1. It's the whole team. He's going to take on everybody to have some success. And, I mean, of course, he's already shown that he can have some success. He's top 7 in the NFL in terms of total tackles. So he has gotten there. Last week might have been his best game of the year, maybe his best game of his career, even without some of the takeaways and turnovers that he's forced. Isaiah, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb versus Jalen Ramsey. Ooh. This is the matchup that everybody's been waiting to see. Can CeeDee Lamb really take over as this #1 receiver? Everybody's talking about it. He's figuring it out the last few games. He's starting to catch more rocks, starting to make plays, starting to do the snotty nose. But can he do this against Jalen Ramsey, who is one of the premier lockdown corners in this league? Barry knows this guy likes to get in your psyche. He likes to get in your head. He's going to talk to you. He's going to cover you. He's going to hold you. In the running game, he's going to make you work on even those plays that you like to take off, because he's going to come up and make a hit on your running backs. He is going to be tested, CeeDee Lamb that is, in every aspect of his game, especially his emotional intelligence.
So CeeDee Lamb has played better. He's had 90-plus yards in each of the last 2 games. Does Michael Gallup help things out? Because Ramsey can't cover both of those guys.
I don't think it makes too much of a difference, simply because of the fact they're going to be doing a lot of zone defensively. So you're going to have to find the zones, find those creases, and to sit in those zones, and don't get too happy with your feet, because those boys are coming to hit.
So what you're saying is that Cooper Rush has got to hit the open target, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, that's something to keep an eye on. Well, that may be a key to the game, so keep that in mind when we come back. We'll give you the rest of the keys. Cooper Rush may be a huge key to this one, or maybe he's the ignition that gets it going, and we'll tell you when we come back on Special Edition.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys looking for their 4th straight win this week against the reigning Super Bowl champs in what would set up a massive Sunday Night Football matchup on the road against Philadelphia. That would be for first place in the NFC East in Week 6, but they got to take care of business in Week 5 first. As we wrap things up on Special Edition, Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. All right, Barry, you start us off. Keys to the game this weekend.
My keys to the game remain on the offensive side of the football. Cooper Rush, you've been doing a great job so far taking care of the football. Don't put it in harm's way. Let your run game do that. Let your run game go ahead and dominate this game. Keep the ball out of harm's way, and we should be good against the Rams.
I'm going to go ahead and go with defensive as well. I think defense, you need to find a way to keep everything in front of you. You know Cooper Kupp's going to get his catches. Allen Robinson's going to start getting the ball. Higbee's going to get it. Keep these guys in front of you. Make sure that you get them off the field on 3rd down.
And I'm going to stay with Barry, because I believe you got to keep the pocket clean, because we saw last week when they leaked in on Cooper Rush what happened a couple of times. So keep the pocket clean, especially in the middle.
Got to keep it clean, especially against some of those defensive linemen that are going to continue to wreak havoc, and they're going to provide that interior pressure. That's some of the least favorite pressure from a quarterback. You could probably attest to that a little bit. They don't like seeing that pressure up the middle. All right, Nate, Cowboys versus Rams, 3:25 kickoff on Fox. Who you got this week?
You know, the Rams last year didn't lose a back-to-back game, but this year, I'm sorry to tell you, it's going to be by 1, bro. We're going to hurt you. Believe that. Believe that so far.
Hey, I like it. The travel out to the West Coast. It's a West Coast showdown. And, hey, the Rams have never been under 500 underneath Sean McVay past the Week 2 point in the NFL season. This is going to be the first week about it, right? The Cowboys are going to have a fun one this week. For Isaiah, Barry, Nate, I'm Kyle. We'll see you next week.